This is Papa Smurf. You're listening to Our Lifestyle, the podcast, with ODB and the Mayor.
Yo, it's ODB. Before we jump into this episode, we want to thank Scraping the Coast, our title sponsor. We just passed STC 20th anniversary. Their next event with the Scraping the Coast umbrella is going to be Bayou Showdown. That is the weekend before Thanksgiving in Slidell, Louisiana. Be there. OLP's there every year. We have a great time. We love the show. Bayou Showdown for more. And a few people have asked me, I think that they had a challenge with their Facebook event page. It does show canceled, but just to be clear, the show is not canceled. There was some sort of issue with Facebook there, and Bayou Showdown is on. And, of course, after that, their next event will be Orange Beach Invasion. That'll be next March in Orange Beach, Alabama. Stick with us through the end of this episode. We got Mike and I's all-new audio from this week. We talked to DJ Mays, his awesome wife Amanda, Diggity Dom, and then we roll into a classic episode with K-Daddy, also known as Kyle Gann. Stay on the rise. Enjoy the episode. Yo, it's our Lifestyle Podcast, episode 301. Thanks to everyone that has tuned in over the past 7, now we're going on, 8 years. And we really appreciate it. If you haven't listened to the last episode, please go back and do that. If you're a new listener and you've come here based upon our guest this week, which is technically going to be kind of the best of OLP episode, but we will have some new content as well. We just want to say thanks again. Subscribe, follow. It's free. Check out our YouTube channel. You know how we do. Now, last episode I mentioned that I am hoping to eventually get Brian Gendro to be able to sit down and do some audio with us. Now, Brian, as I said, is super busy. Totally get it. He's got a whole other career, so to speak, as I understand, outside of mini trucks and custom vehicles, right? So we wish him all the continued success. With 301, what I think the plan is going to be is we are going to run Phil Fowler's audio. Phil Fowler is no stranger to the podcast, really needs no introduction, and I certainly appreciate Phil as a friend and as just a, kind of an ambassador. I know he kind of, sometimes probably doesn't like the attention or the nice things we say. He appreciates it, but, I could just tell he's a humble guy and he doesn't really want the praise. But I'll tell you this, got a chance last time to hang out with him at Southeast Mini Truckin Nationals, which is one of our favorite shows. It's going to be next April is the next one. And, man, Phil, I tell you what, it's in his blood. He loves that event, and we see him down there, every year. The other ironic thing was Phil had sent me this week. So you guys know how I like dates and whatnot. This one coincides pretty nicely because today is August 10th when I'm recording this audio. Typically do it on Tuesday, but this week just had some other stuff going on. It was August 10th of 2018, so 4 years ago, that episode 78 came out, and that was the Phil Fowler episode. Now, I know some of you go, man, I remember hearing that audio. I tell you what, we get a lot of good feedback and praise from people that go, man, I went back and I listened to it again, and wow, 4 years went by quick. They really enjoyed it. We've also picked up a lot of new listeners, people that, hey, everybody's time is precious. We know that not everyone can go back to episode 1 and things, and if you have, thank you. I've got messages the other day, people laughing at some of the older episodes and getting some good laughs out of them, and we're glad that you guys are doing that. But again, episode 78, you fast forward now, we're on 301, and we're going to have Phil's audio again. Now, the other reason why I run Phil's audio, I was going to try to link up with him this week. Phil had reminded me that Low Rollers, they are celebrating their 30th anniversary. So a lot of epic stuff happened in 9 Deuce, as Snoop and Dre would say, 9-2, 9 Deuce. And that includes, of course, Severed. They're getting ready to celebrate their 30th, which is going to be at Severed in the Midwest. You had NC just celebrate. Obviously, we really gave them a lot of praise on episode 300. And, of course, Relaxed Atmosphere, as I said multiple times, they started 91. So all last year, including that Lone Star Throwdown, they just got down and did the damn thing and had a good time. So 3 epic clubs there, but you add in Low Rollers, Acrophobia, No Regrets, so many of these other clubs, too many to name, but we give credit to all of them, even Extreme Lows. I know that they started back in the day, and we got to talk more about their history. So thanks again, everyone that continues to come here. Now, because Miggity Mike the Mayor is out this week, now he's back from vacay, but he's still gallivanting. Let's be honest. He's out there checking houses, cutting side deals. I know what he's doing. And this is a best of week, so we're gonna let him off the hook. Again, he's down like a quarter of a tick mark. If he misses any other questions, I've got he doesn't know, but I got his PayPal password, and I'll just log in and go ahead and start sending the money straight from his bank account. He's gonna really have no say in this, right? Now he could try to change his password, but it ain't gonna work. So this episode will be a little bit, not the normal cadence, right, that we normally have. But I do want to stop for a moment and say, hey, you heard at the top, thank you so much to Custom Car Show Productions. Rest in peace to our homie Greg Miller. I think about him every day. Their next event under that umbrella is going to be the weekend before Thanksgiving. So I know a lot of people start to get to holidays and they're like, yeah, man, can't wait for the next year of shows. Well, the show season is still going all the way up to the weekend before Thanksgiving, as I said, in Slidell, Louisiana. That's Bayou Showdown. Their next event after that is going to be kind of the spring break-ish area or time period. That's going to be Orange Beach Invasion. And then before you know it, we'll be on to the 21st annual Scraping the Coast, which is going down, of course, next June. So it's big ups to Custom Car Show Productions. But there was big news we shared last week. I think I did that Lone Star Throwdown totally sold out. Actually, that's breaking news right now because last week I had said I missed the Monday. I wanted to post it, right? Monday was super busy. It was 8-1. 8-2 comes around. I'm like, shit, I need to pre-reg. At that time, there were like 500 left. And then I think when I was wrapping up the audio on that Wednesday, there was even less. Well, that Wednesday, I think it was, news broke that it sold out, right? So some of you are thinking, well, man, what am I going to do? Listen, it's the same thing with mini nats. Get your tickets, right? Rent a house, get a hotel, a motel, a Holiday Inn, whatever. Come into this show, okay? Lone Star Throwdown Conroe every year. It's amazing. There's a lot of vendors, so you can get product from companies like AccuAir. You're going to see some of the biggest and baddest vehicles anywhere. There's a lot of the top shops, including like Extensive, the Texas Metal fame, and so much more going down. But LoneStarThrowdown.com if you want to get all the details. Last weekend in February, I know the weather's not always perfect, right? But Mike and I have said it many times over. It doesn't matter. The event is so epic. There's plenty of covered area. If it is inclement weather in any way, everybody still has a great time. So, and remember, around that time, everyone's like, oh, the weather sucks. Well, when it gets super hot, the weather really sucks. So if it's a little bit of cloud cover or whatever, it's cooler than the crazy summers. That's all I'm going to say. So we're looking forward to that. Now, the next thing I did want to mention is I hinted that I was going to drop something last Friday, and it just didn't work out because Friday was another busy day at work. Mike was still out. I couldn't link up with him to kind of verify some of the sizes and things like that. So with that being said, it looks like right now we're on target for this Friday. So we'll have Friday through the following Friday plus 2 days. So give or take 8-9 days of a pre-sale. You guys know how the pre-sale works. You order, and we'll basically submit that order that Monday morning. Graphic Disorder will print those said items, and we'll get those shipped out. But Really appreciate the support. This one's going to be a little bit different, as I said last week, and I'm certainly looking forward to sharing that with everyone. Now, being that even though it's a best of episode, we are going to take some time in a few minutes, and I'm going to call Don Dizzy Davis. We'll see if Adam's available too, but you guys know Don, Dizzy Davis, and Adam, those are the kind of the key names behind the Spark Show. I wanted to have them on last week, just ran out of time. The Spark Show is going down in Sevierville, Tennessee this weekend. It's an amazing event. I unfortunately haven't been able to make it the last couple years. I think the last year I went was 2019 or 2020. No, 2019, I believe. And I started a different job in August of 2020. And then I couldn't make it last year for family stuff. And then this year we're doing the same family stuff. So it's just the way it goes. You guys know how it goes. So we'll have Don Dizzy Davis on, hopefully, to talk a couple minutes before we roll into Phil Fowler's audio. Now, I did save a couple of scene updates. So Jazzy Green, her name came up on episode 200, talking about the fine folks in Australia, down under. And thanks again, Jamie Smith, for coming on. But exciting news, she says, the mini truck is one of 16 contenders for Street Machine of the Year. If you could vote for my truck, it would be cool. So we'll make sure we share those details. I think it's on whichcar.com. And it doesn't take long to vote, she said, and you go into a chance to win $5,000. And it's Milwaukee Street Machine of the Year 2022. So again, we'll share that. Shout out to Jazzy. Great people and an amazing mini trucker. I'm going to kind of combine all of the scene updates with the Airhead Nation updates this week. Sean Rose on 8/10 today said, "Good days give happiness, bad days give experience." And his late wife, he mentions, happy anniversary, Sarah. Today would have been their anniversary. May she rest in peace. Some news that I had kind of caught wind of, and I've kind of put two and two together, but Jason Bell at Bell's Rod Shop behind Southeast Mini Truckin' Nationals, he is now the owner of Faux Runner. This was, at one point, Tony Rispoli's Forerunner. I know it has the Jimmy's Running Customs front clip, and Tony did a ton of work to it. It was featured in street trucks, all that stuff. All those details were there. I know it changed hands after Tony sold it, but my intel had told me that Jason had picked it up, and here he says he's got the Faux Runner loaded up and ready for the Spark Show. Have fun, everyone up there. Go by the Mini Trucker Union booth. They're great people, and again, I know you may not have a ticket. They haven't. Well, let's be honest. They haven't done the pre-registration yet. I'm getting ahead of myself for Mini Nats, but whether you get a ticket or you don't, it's going to be on and popping, and I think it's 10-1. I mentioned that last week. Here, our good friend Thad Cunningham, he says, "Until we meet again, old friend, you were like family to me. I had known you for way better than half my life," and that was Ronald Avon. It looks like EVON. May he rest in peace, man. Say hello to Papa Smurf. Michelle Middleton, I know she just announced, even though she just graduated, they are headed to the Spark Show. So big tip of the cap to Michelle Middleton, Matt Middleton, all the success. Matt's truck was recently featured on a Hammered Weekend Wear shirt. Code RED. Check it out, HAMMERD, weekendwear.com. And big ups to two great folks in our scene, and they're repping hard. Rob Steely had mentioned 17 years ago today we lost you. You were so excited to work on the truck and get back on it. And he kind of goes along and says rest in peace to Steve-O. Some of you guys know his name from Florida. He had an epic S10. And the truck, I believe after his passing, his friends had finished it, and the tag said for Steve-O. So rest in peace, and I'm glad to hear that his friends, continue to carry on his legacy. So a lot going on out there, kind of in the the world of mini trucks and all of the other stuff that we talk about. I do want to give a huge shout out to Sean from Rad BMX Builds. Now, if you've been listening, you know that we had Sean on. His YouTube channel is continuing to grow just like his social media channels are. Go out there if you like old school BMX. Even if you're just a casual fan, check out and subscribe to his YouTube channel. He had mentioned that he had visited Haro, and he does a tour. They let him have the cameras on all through the warehouse. It gives us a huge shout out at the end because he had just recorded that evening with OLP. Of course, we rolled that out. He's a great guy, and I tell you what, it's amazing to see so many bikes in one place. That's on Rad BMX Builds. Check it out. So the key show updates. This weekend, again, the Spark Show is going down. I think the other big thing to keep in mind is you got the Pacific Northwest Cruise. So I did want to have the family on and talk about that, but I just have not had time. Maybe we'll do a post recap. But Northwest Cruise to the Pines, rather. That was cruisetothe.pines.com, and that's where they have all of their information. So get out there and check it out. The only two other shows I'm going to mention, so again, you got those coming this weekend, but then in 4 weeks, you have Dropped and Destroyed. That is September 10th. I believe it's 2 days. I think it's the 10th and 11th. I have that on the OLP calendar. And then Static Nationals. That's, of course, in Rogersville, Tennessee. So Dropped and Destroyed, they've got an Instagram. It's DROPT Outcom, OUTCOM. You can check out information there. That is in Uniontown, Ohio. And then you have Static Nationals. That is, as I mentioned, Rogersville, Tennessee. So have fun out there if you can make those events. They're great people. And I would love to see you guys out there. Tag us in your photos, Our Lifestyle Podcast, and we'll do our best to reshare some of those. That's kind of the key show updates, and I want to thank the West Coast Influence. You can visit minitruckfilm.com, order the Blu-ray or DVD. This is a documentary-style film surrounding the mini truck scene. Big ups to Radar for putting this together. The OLP update. So, again, I would ask if you guys go to our lifestylepodcast.com. You'll land on our website. And on the left side, select official OLP show calendar and then tap on your phone where it says click here. Allow that calendar, and then you can subscribe right there. All of the shows that we add to the calendar, which is pretty much everything, with an exception to a few, but pretty much everything's out there, and that helps keep you guys updated. It's free. There's no cost to do that. Additionally, I want to give Joey at Get Decked a huge shout-out. So I think for this pre-sale, we are going to have a pre-sale of the skate decks as well. I believe it's going to be the first time we're doing it that way. I know, like with Time Machine, we kind of did the soft launch at Mini Nats, and then we had stuff online. But this is going to be a pre-sale where you'll be able to order the skate decks as well. Now, remember, we are kind of a smaller operation. We can't afford to just eat the shipping. So, you'd have to pay for the shipping, which will be listed there on the website if you want the skate decks. But I think this one's going to be an all-time classic. And I do believe many of you are going to want to get in on this pre-sale because it's something that is going to resonate with everyone. The apparel in terms of the shirts, they'll be a little bit more affordable, right? Because it's kind of more of it's not a crazy design like we've been doing. So make sure you check out whether you're listening to this like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or into that next week or that next weekend. You're going to have about a 9-10 day-ish pre-sale on the new merch that we're going to be dropping here very, very soon. Want to thank Joey at Get Decked. Again, it's Get Decked on Facebook or Instagram. Joey Dilworth. If you've got a photo or artwork that you want to put on a skate deck, hit him up. He does one-offs, or he'll do multiple. He'll deliver them to shows. If he happens to be going there, he can ship them as well. Many of the amazing truck events in this country have already jumped on board with Joey at Get Decked, and they're ordering hundreds of decks at a time, and they sell out. People love them. We love our skate decks. We love them on the wall. We love them in the man caves. We love them in the Whoa Man caves. Check it out. get decked. I do want to thank Graphics Mafia as well. I know Ryan helps us a lot with the Full Size on the Rise Instagram page. My understanding is Ryan is maybe going to be getting into a new project. I got my fingers crossed for Ryan. He's a good dude. He's went to a lot of shows with us and has helped us a lot. If you have an opportunity and you need stickers for your truck club or your brand, or maybe you had stickers printed, but you need to re-up, hit up Graphics with an X, mafia.com. That's graphicsmafia.com with an X. They're on Facebook and Instagram as well, and TikTok. Hit them up. Let them know what you need. SEMA is coming up. If you need stickers for that, they can take care of you. Trust us. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but I just want to thank everyone. We are going to roll in here. I'm going to try to call Dizzy real quick. We'll do a couple minutes of audio, and then we'll roll into Phil Fowler's audio for the best of. Thank you so much to Garage Gear Clothing. I have said this before, and I think it's amazing. They offer free shipping. GarageGearClothing.com. Remember, the holidays are coming. They have the dudes on lock, the chicas, the chicks, the ladies, if you will. They also have the kids on lock. So they have it all there. Garage Girl, Garage Kids, Garage Dudes. But it's all on GarageGearClothing.com. Hit them up. Let them know that we sent you. And if you see them at an upcoming show, just go by, slap hands, maybe buy some merch. Bottom line, say what's up, and tell them that you hear us talk about them via our Lifestyle Podcast.
Now it's time to get serious.
In closing, 8888, what album dropped? Okay. Want to shout out AccuAir for this. They always sponsor us, the Trivia with Mike. Mike's not on this week without looking it up. So think about the date, 8/8 of 1988. This group, I guess you could call them a band, but group, they ended up having a run-in with a government agency. Sent them a letter. Let's just leave it at that. They were threatened with their lyrics to be arrested, believe it or not, and shut down in different cities, and they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, believe it or not. So do you know on 8/8/88 what album came out? Stay on the rise, my friends, and we'll talk next week, hopefully with an all-new episode. ODB, we at you. Enjoy this audio from Dizzy and Mr. Phil Fowler. Yo, so as I mentioned a minute ago, wanted to call Diggity Don Dizzy Davis. Man, I just want to ask you, dude, how you been?
Oh, man. ODB, I am been great. We got the Spark Show coming up this weekend. Dizzy Designs is booming. The Custom Scene, the podcast, is taking road trips now. We're doing great.
Dude, you're cutting promos. I love it. Now, you also brought on a special guest. Why don't you give him an introduction, or maybe he should introduce himself?
I'll introduce him because I got a special introduction for this man. So this guy has been with us for years behind the scenes. He is the right hand to the right hand of the Spark Show.
And not Hank, right? We're not talking Hank Norris because he's new to that area.
Yeah, no, definitely not Hank. Hank is to Hammered Weekend Wear as Tater is to the Spark Show. So we have the man Daniel Stewart, a.k.a. the Tater.
Hey, Tater, welcome to the show.
ODB?
Not much,
What's going on, man?
Not much, dude. That was a great introduction from your homie, and thanks for coming on.
No, thank you for having me, man. And Don always does a good job. Made me feel good right there.
Yeah, that's good stuff. You can pay him later. Not just kidding. Well, you mentioned, Dizzy, that you got a lot of good stuff going on, which is great. But before we get to a couple of those other things, we are going to have Phil Fowler on. The best of audio is going to roll in, so we got a lot of good folks listening to this one. I wish that we would have got a chance a little bit earlier in the year to really sit down, maybe even a couple weeks ago, but Sevierville, Tennessee, right? That's all you got to speak into your Google Maps. It's going down this weekend. Talk to us about a few things that you guys got going on with the Spark Show.
Well, first off, I want to say what a coincidence that you're having Phil Fowler on. I was actually on the YouTubes last night watching old where they tow your vehicles, and they got a pink Nissan. And who's riding with the dude in the pink Nissan? Phil Fowler.
What the hell? He's everywhere.
He is everywhere. But this weekend, August 12th and 14th, Sevierville, Tennessee, the Spark Show. Friday, gates are going to open up at 9. We're going to run till like 4:30. And the man that's on the phone with us right now, the Tater, is going to shove you out the gates. Because we are doing our annual pre-party. But this time we're moving it off grounds to the Tennessee Shine Company. And we're going to be there from 6 to 9, 10 o'clock until they kick us out the door. We're going to, so you can do some moonshine tasting. We got an awesome patio set up. We're going to have like 10 to 15 trucks up there, covering all the different types of genres of vehicles that we have at the show. So we'll have lifted trucks, full-size trucks, hydro trucks, muscle car, modern muscle car. We're going to have everything up there. That's our schedule for Friday. Saturday, we're opening up the gates at 8 o'clock, and then it's going to run till 5. And then, of course, Saturday, we always have our fun with Michelle Boone and the Boone Games. We're going to have the car limbo. Mid-afternoon, we're going to have our annual auction to raise money for Sean Rose and Spreading the Love with stuff from Airflow, Stitch Happens. We got a bunch of swag this year to auction off. All money goes to Spreading the Love. And then, like I said, gates close around 5 o'clock. That night, unsanctioned by the Spark Show, we are going to hijack the parking lots at the Cal Ripken Experience, hang out for a few hours, and then go cruise the strips. And our boy Robbie Williams of Static Nationals, he's going to get all that together. You can find the Facebook event. Then we're just going to go out, cruise, have a good night. Sunday, gates are going to open up back again at 9, roll to about 2 o'clock or so, and then do the awards and send everybody home.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I appreciate the breakdown, right, clear and concise. Tater, what's your favorite part about the Spark Show?
Seeing everybody's faces, the enjoyment they get out of coming to the show. It's always nice seeing every single truck come in and all the people's faces having a good time, enjoying the show.
Yeah, you think about that covered area that you guys had. You know, a lot of times there's corn toss, corn throw, cornhole, all that stuff going down. Is that kind of going to be where some of the main action's going down with DJs and stuff like that?
So we are going to be using that just for hangout. That's where we'll do our award presentation at. We're actually going to move the cornhole tournament to the pre-party at Tennessee Shine Company. And then we actually picked up a sponsor with Off the Chain Bicycles to sponsor DJ Mays. And we had enough money to get him a stage this year. So he's going to be front and center overlooking the entire field instead of at the pavilion.
Oh, boy, his head's blowing up more, but that's fantastic because you know what? We recently had Amanda on with DJ Mays, as you know, and, you know, we're trying to get him at all the shows. I know, you know, small steps, one small step for DJ Mays, but one giant leap for DJ Mays will be, you know, if we can get him like an air-conditioned, like a, you know, like the ET thing, you know, the clear stuff that goes around you. That's going to be next on the list. You know what I'm saying? So,
I know you guys, the OLP boys, love some of that Freon poisoning. We are bringing up a fellow Floridian guy, Navarre Cigars out of Navarre, Florida, driving all the way up to Sevierville, Tennessee to pass out some stogies. And he is actually going to have a little setup where you can sit, chill, buy cigars, smoke them on site. And it's air conditioning.
Dude.
So Freon poisoning in the middle of the field, smoking some stogies.
I know exactly where I'm going to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And, you know, Tater, it's funny because, you know, if they would have come up with this idea a few years ago, I wouldn't have harped on them so bad about the axe throwing contest, right? But I think now, Disney, you guys are back in the game.
We're getting back in the game. We tried our hardest to get axe throwing, and it kept getting more dangerous and more dangerous.
Yeah, see?
Mike almost lost an ear during practice.
Yep.
So it was like, if we have 100 people standing around watching this, Mike's going to get mad. He might throw an axe at me and accidentally hit like a 10-year-old behind me. So we're like, we got to figure a new gimmick. And so we're going to go with freon poisoning and cigars.
Dude, there's not much better. And, people were calling, they were calling some of the women that were throwing the axes, like the Raina Bobbin, and they were calling Mike, kind of names and stuff. So, we didn't want it to get out of hand. We really don't want to get anyone hurt because, insurance gets involved and all that,
Yeah, exactly. After the strawberry shortcake incident of 2020,
right.
We just could not chance it.
Yeah, it sent ripples, I heard, all through the whole community there, And then I swear they had a guy named the Smut Bandit. Someone up there, if anybody out there is watching Better Call Saul, I won't give it away, but I think people are starting to recognize Mike as the Smut Bandit when he goes out of town to these shows. So he's kind of trying to keep his cover,
Yeah, I completely understand.
Tater, when you think about all the clubs that come out there and the vendors, and I've been there a couple years in a row, and I just had a fantastic time. And the food vendors, what are some of the highlights that you think about, in the past when you see all these good people come out? Maybe a favorite food vendor, some of the clubs and interactions you've had with people.
Well, it's great as the years have grown over the year, and I see everybody that comes in the game. So I see all different clubs, all different kinds of people, and it's amazing of how many different clubs come every year. The show out, the clubs come every year, and I'm going to be partial here. Don't hate me for it, but Malloy's.
Yeah.
Malloy's tacos. That's my favorite. But I can't beat Borgasm's breakfast sandwich that they make.
Yeah. I remember when Hank heard that word, Dizzy, he got excited, and we're like, no, I think he heard it wrong, maybe. But
yeah, like we were over there, we go every morning to Borgasm, makes this fried bologna with egg biscuit for everybody, and Hank pushed me out of the way, and he's like, "Where's the chick that's giving out orgasms?" And I was like, "No, Hank, you heard that way wrong, buddy.
Right,
go back to the trailer.
We're eating. We're hungry now, right? We're not on your level yet. I mean, it's 8 a.m. We got to work today. But
yeah.
Now, for those that are wondering, Adam is at a festivities tonight, so I know Adam kind of, is always over there pulling the puppet strings, with the show. What do you think, Dizzy, is the main thing that's on his mind, as you kind of get Wednesday, Thursday, you start moving into midweek, and then you got a show this weekend. What's Adam thinking?
So actually, I was talking to him earlier, just making sure we have all our ducks in a row, and making sure all the trophies are nice and cleaned up. We got trophies from Welch's Chop Shop and Creative House this year. If you've seen Creative House, RMP uses it, or Relaxing in the Park uses them. So making sure that everything is ready, the trucks are loaded, so that we're fresh, ready to roll out. First thing tomorrow, and getting everything set up for you guys. I've got to say, over the past years, it's kind of weird that the farther we go, I guess it's just the repetitiveness of we already know what to do. This year has been probably one of the best years that we've had, making sure that we've got no problems. So our show crew is just we're all set, ready to go. So we just got waking up in the morning and going to set up the field tomorrow on our minds.
Yeah, fantastic. And I love hearing it, for anybody that's out there that wants to start a show, or maybe you're new to this whole running your own show, you'll start to kind of get on autopilot because you'll learn those things. You'll learn some vendors that you want to work with and the ones that maybe give you a little bit of heartache. But we've talked about Creative House in the past. Want to give a huge shout out to Doug Johnson. As we always, say for Welch's Chop Shop as well. But Aftermath Designs was his old business name, and then you can go out there. It's Creative House, KRE, and then a number 8 IVE House. You can check him out. He does some pretty cool awards. Now, listen, I wanted to put you on the spot and ask you. In the past, Nathan Coker has done a huge shout out, tip of the cap to the big homie. Always love seeing him, dude. He's a great guy, as you know, no regrets. He always does something pretty cool. Did he have time to work up and get anything for this year?
So this year he did not have time to do it. We actually, so what you're referring to is the past few years has done a killer skate deck for us.
Yeah.
And we reached out to him, talked about doing it, and he was just a little bit too busy for this year. So we, in turn, went to the great Joey Dilworth at Get Decked.
Yes.
And we're going to have a couple special things. Of course, we're going to have our Sparks boards, but we got a few other special things coming.
Good. Well, tip of the cap, Nathan's a great guy. I mean, he did the Chicks Ride, rest in peace, Jen Lacey, the crew cut, kind of themed skate deck, and the paint is amazing.
Yeah.
So, always love slapping hands with the homie and doing the damn thing. So that's fantastic. But I know folks can find more information on Instagram, Facebook. Type in The Sparks Show. But you guys have also stepped up. And, man, Adam's really blowing through the budget. You guys got thesparkshow.com as well. And it's pretty cool because you guys can, if there happens to be any leftover merchandise and stuff like that, that's where it all will end up, right?
Yes. If we have any. Last year, completely sold out. We did order some more this year to make sure, because we're expecting the numbers to be a little bit higher with, just go ahead and say it now, the weather this weekend is gorgeous. High of 84 for the entire weekend with low humidity. It is too late in the weather forecast to jinx it. So if we have any merch left over, all you got to do is go to the sparkshowtn.com, and all that merch will be on there, from shirts, skate decks. We got Stitch Happens to do the new logo with for hats and everything. So yeah, it will all be on there if we have anything left over after the show.
Yeah, and Tater, if you think about a couple years back, they made, in my opinion, a great business decision to shift gears and go with Graphic Disorder, right? Have you seen the difference in the lines and the people and the excitement that people have when they see this amazing artwork?
Oh, big time. I mean, last year, I think the show shirts sold out before noon on Saturday.
Yep.
So the gear has definitely been getting slung since Graphic Disorder has been making the shirts.
Eric and Brant and the whole team, from everybody that draws it to prints it. I mean, Disney, there was a rumor that they were lacing it for Hank, and he was trafficking something in the ink across state lines, but I think that was just maybe a story, maybe.
I think it's like the old Coca-Cola thing where there's cocaine in there to get you addicted to it, because I cannot stop myself from buying stuff that was printed or designed and printed by Graphic Disorder.
Yeah,
there's something in the ink.
Yeah, there was a lot of white in the artwork this year, so just be careful, right? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely be careful.
Now, listen, I do want to pivot just for a minute and talk about a couple other things that you guys got going on that's cool. But before we do that, Dizzy or Tater, do you guys have anything else you wanted to mention with the Spark Show that's going down, of course, this weekend in Sevierville?
Main thing is everybody be safe. If you need addresses, 754 Old Knoxville Highway, Sevierville, Tennessee, or you can just look up on the Facebooks and the event page. It's posted everywhere, the website, Instagrams, TikTok. Everybody be safe coming out, and just, we look forward to having a great weekend.
Excellent. And Tater, you're going to keep it legal, right?
Well, I'm going to try to. I mean, that's the whole thing.
Right, you got to try.
Like I said, Tater is our Hank.
Right. There's no...
Me and Hank are homies.
Yeah, there's no I in team, but there's a me, and I know, you always try your hardest, and that's what counts.
Hey, I'm just all about having a good time.
I like it, dog.
Last thing I got is at the gate. Bring cash, makes everything move smoother. If you don't have cash, we can handle it, but we prefer not to, because it'll just slow everything down. We'll have to scoot you to the side, like you're rolling through McDonald's drive-thru and they tell you to move up around the corner.
Right,
but
park 'em.
We'll try to bring cash.
Park 'em, yeah. Yeah, and I always have to ask, you guys do or don't take the traveler's checks? Because I got a couple printed from 1983, one of our vacations, and I'd like to try to spend them, so I was thinking about sending them up. We'll have to see, though, right?
I mean, with all the issues that we had from you the last time that you bought traveler's checks, we're gonna have to cancel that out this year.
Yeah, go ahead and just cancel me, man. That's what we're doing. Good stuff. Well, I appreciate all the info about the Spark Show. Now, before we roll into the audio with Phil Fowler, I haven't had a chance yet to listen to the two new episodes, right? LMC or LCD podcast and the Custom Scene podcast you mentioned earlier. But I do want to say I meant to include something last week and I did not. But I tell you, when I think of, the Midwest up there, I think of, a lot of good people. And it's really heartbreaking to see what some of the folks have went through in Eastern Kentucky. I know that's not exactly in your region, but it can't be that far. And my understanding, Dizzy, that you recently made a trip over there.
Yeah, so the town of Whitesburg is where the LCD boys are from. It's about 3.5 hours from my home base in Knoxville. Our buddy Glenn Brown from RA and my co-partner in the custom scene came swing by the house, picked me up. We ran up there. A bunch of people in our community gathered a bunch of donations or sent us money to go buy donations. And Hammered Weekend Wear actually, I think it was Hank, but someone threw like 60 or 70 bags in my trunk of T-shirts.
Wow.
So we ran all that up there to Eastern Kentucky, met up with the boys, went to the donation center, dropped all that off. And then Lee and Shay took us on a tour of Whitesburg and the surrounding cities. And like seeing pictures, I knew it was bad, but until like we actually hit ground zero and got to see there's a city called Neon out there, and seeing the water line above like the windows in the second floor, to realize the water in areas raised like 17 to 19 feet is what Lee was telling me. And from what I understand, when this is all done and cleanup is done, they're going to just board up the windows of Neon, and just like the town is done. They're just dissolving the town. So all those people have to find new homes and all the businesses that got lost. But I do have to say, like running around there, like the people that were in line to pick up donations, we were there, all of them were like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And their spirits were lifted just with how everybody came in and helped the Eastern Kentucky areas. And as Lee said it, Eastern Kentucky folks, they will survive, and they're pulling out of it. There was a lot of loss of life. The last number I heard was like 48 people in Lee's area. But I mean, it's bad. Keep prayers out for them, and if you can help in one way or another, just find somewhere like a Salvation Army that's donated to there. Anything will help them. They were excited that we brought like dollar store brooms. We bought like 1 million of them, and that was the greatest thing to them. And it was shocking.
Well, I appreciate you sharing the updates. We followed LCD podcast, and we continue to see the updates. And I know, like he has said, that they're not doing it for the views or anything. They're trying to keep people, and I appreciate kind of in the loop. So I would encourage people to check out Lowest Common Denominator, which is short LCD podcast, and also the Custom Scene podcast. Dizzy's on there. They're doing a lot of great things. They're bringing awareness to things like this that are tragic. But I commented on LMC's post a little while ago, and I said, it's tough to see the devastation. But one thing that's true about Americans, and I think about all people, but especially Americans, we come together in times of tragedy. And the folks that are contributing money and helping and trying to lift, like you said, each other's spirits and that type of thing is so important, because these guys are going through a lot. So, thanks for
thanks
for the update.
Talking about, I'll give this one last story that we got to see, talking about America coming together. A guy from Northern Ohio, he was like a 60-year-old man, dressed as a cowboy, went by the name Cowboy Dave. Had drove down, had nothing to offer, but every day he stands on the corner with a sign that says, "Not here to give advice, but I'm here to give an ear." And he stands out there all day long just for people to come up and just cry on a shoulder and just having an ear for them to talk to. We're like, "Oh, that's interesting." And then seeing people like an old man crying, just talking to him. It's like, this dude had nothing to offer financially or physically, because he just wasn't physically able to do anything. But that probably touched just as, or helped as many people as digging 1 million pounds of dirt. And so, like, yeah, that's amazing that someone would do something like that.
Yeah, it truly is. And, again, go out there, check out these podcasts, and if there's an opportunity to give in some way, form, or fashion, definitely do that. I know you mentioned the big homie Sean Rose this weekend. They'll be raising money for Spreading the Love. And, if you're at the Spark Show, if you can, give a little bit and, contribute if you can. Dizzy, thanks for the updates there. Tater, what do you think it's like hearing Dizzy continue to grow over there on the Custom Scene podcast with Glenn Brown?
I'm always happy to see my homie succeed, and seeing him grow over the years. It's just amazing, and I've supported him every step of the way. Anything new he comes out with, I gotta have it.
Yep.
Even if I don't need it, I gotta have it.
I like it. And Dizzy, it's been cool to see, you guys, the success. And we had such a good time at Southeast Mini Truckin Nationals earlier this year, kind of doing some of those Q&As and stuff. I know maybe not everyone's into that, but I tell you what, it was a lot of fun, man. And I love to see you guys on the rise.
Yeah, that was we have to do that again with all the podcast folks sitting up on the stage and people yelling questions at us and trying to get Jason Ballard to quit talking so much just so that the rest of us could say something.
Yeah, and I think the guy that was talking about who's the Corvette owner, I think he was talking about you.
Yeah, it was definitely me. It wasn't the dude from Florida wearing the white New Balances and the jean shorts.
Right, exactly. Now, the other thing that I did want to mention, you said it earlier, just cut a promo real quick. Let people know if they're a show promoter or they've got their brand, they're selling their merch or whatever. Some of the things that you've done, like you've really kind of got, you found a footing, so to speak, with some of these like Facebook, I don't want to call them filters, but, talk to us a little bit about those things that you're doing to help these shows and these brands grow.
Okay, yeah. So what you're talking about, they're called, I call them backers. And you'll see them with the Spark Show, Eastbound Get Down, Battle in Bama, Southern Tradition. And so if you need help reaching out farther to who your clientele that you're trying to reach, you can hit me up. And it's eye-catching so that you can be seen. And it makes people stop. You can, with the backers, it helps you reach out more and push your vendors, your sponsors if you're a show. Or if you need logos or anything like that, I can do logos. I picked up the new show out there in Maggie Valley, the Showdown in the Valley, and they're doing great. Static Dance is killing it with my stuff. So if you need anything, hit me up on the Facebooks with Dizzy Designs, or you can just hit me up at Don Dizzy Davis.
Yeah, and some of those, I remember you did one. There's the photo I took at Southern Tradition, and I was on the donk board. But you put the OLP logo on it. That's what you're kind of talking about too, right? So when people see your avatar or your photo on Facebook, you kind of do some of those as well as graphics.
Yes, I do. But with our government right now, I can't do those little profile things because they are saying no unless it's COVID related.
Oh,
but
really?
what ODB is talking about, guys, is it's the Facebook filter where, like, you can type in Our Lifestyle, the podcast, and it will pop over your Facebook thing. All my old ones are still up there. But anything new, Facebook and the government's like, no, not right now.
Well, I'm going to have to try to reactivate mine, because, dude, I don't want to miss out. I got a one-off one that you did for me, and I thought it was pretty cool. But,
yeah, dude, it's crazy that, like, everybody's been hitting me up over the past year to be like, hey, when you coming out with new filters? And it's just like, I wish I could.
Yep. No, I hear you. I want to thank you guys for taking the time. Tater, dude, it's cool to be able to link up with you a little bit and chat, man. I really appreciate you coming on, Tater.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me on, man. It's always good to talk to ODB.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And Diggity Don Dizzy Davis, I'm going to get messed up here unless I get my carny really going, because you got to get in the mindset to really get the carny rolling. And I'm not even the best at the carny, but Diggity Don Dizzy Davis, it's always good linking up with you, bro.
Of course, brother. And always.
Last thing, if Mike, if he's let's pretend he's at home and he's actually listening to this, and he is trying to plan his next mod for Bananarama Hammock. what do you think his mindset should be? The gull wing doors, or where do you what mod do you think he should do next?
So on the banana hammock, from what I understand, the gull wing doors are already in the process.
Oh.
You know, I got to see him and Scotty the Body down there at Southern Tradition this year.
Yep.
And I swear I heard rumors of sterling silver plated frame and like A-arms and 4 links. I don't know how true it is, but that's what I heard. Like the whole thing's going to be sterling silver. And like he said, like Scotty the Body said something like your grandma's old silverware or something like that.
Right.
So I mean, I say go with it.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I hope he does, man. I mean, he's talking about having 4 hoverboards that Doc Brown built for his suspension, dude. You know, I don't know how it's going to work.
I don't doubt it. Between him and our boy Jason Babalia, GJ Mays, I know he's redoing Till Short, and from what I understand, the frame is gold plated.
Right.
They're dropping a rotary in it.
Yeah.
I mean,
and Too Short's
they're just out here changing the game.
Yeah, he's gonna sign the glove box and stuff. I heard. You know.
Yeah, I've heard that one as well.
Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for playing along, and we hope you guys have a great weekend. We're gonna roll into Phil Fowler's audio. Keep your head up there to everybody in Eastern Kentucky. Have fun at the Spark Show this weekend. And both of you guys stay on the rise.
Catchphrase. Peace.
We out you. Thank you guys so much, bro. It's a good number. That was the year I was born. But it's even better because I got the big homie Phil Fowler in the house from the Northeast. What is going down, my man?
What's up, Jason? How you doing, bro? Nice to hear from you.
Hey, same, man. I like that little accent you guys have in the Northeast. It's like, how you doing, man? You know, you got a little bit of that, you know. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, man. I'm not a New Yorker or Philly guy. You know what I mean? We're a little south of those guys.
Yeah, I'm not the best with accents. I guess I probably pigeonhole everybody from the Northeast with that one, so I kind of messed up a little bit. But it's like, forget about it, you know?
Yeah, that's definitely not us, but we're good. It's good.
Okay. Well, listen, man, it's great to have you on. A lot of people know you in the scene. There's a lot of guys that may not, some of the young cats, making us kind of feel a little bit old. But why don't you tell the Airhead Nation, Phil, just like a little bit about yourself, man? Like, what do you do? And then we'll get into mini trucking here in a few minutes.
Yeah, well, my name's Phil. I'm from Delaware. I've been in Delaware my whole life. Married, got 3 beautiful daughters and a lovely wife. My daughters, Sarah, Anna, and Emily, and my wife, Danielle. I don't know, work for the railroad, Amtrak, you know what I mean? Keeping the trains going, keeping people moving. So that's pretty cool. I'll be 43 years old this year.
Well, happy birthday coming up.
Yeah, November, man, November.
Yeah, dude. Well, let me ask you this. Like, what do you do? Because I've talked to you a little bit, and you're like, man, I'm super busy. I know you're a busy guy. Like, what do you do for the railroad? For Amtrak, I work at a back shop, was where we do all the heavy overhauls and stuff like that. And I was a mechanic there for 13 years, working on the trains, doing various things. And about a year and a half, I got into a supervisor position, and I've been overseeing a program overhauling the Acela high-speed train set that runs from D.C. to Boston. So it's the fastest train in the U.S., but far from the fastest train in the world. But that's what I work on, man. That's what we do every day. Hells yeah, man. You know, to kind of stick to mini trucks, one of the things that we took a different approach here is, you know, we've been trying to nail the interview down. You've been super busy. And we went into the Airhead Nation Facebook group, and I posted and said, hey, you know, we got Phil Fowler, the homie, is on the horn, and we have a question from James Day. And this kind of ties into where I was thinking as far as my mind with the question is, you know, what got you into mini trucking all those years ago?
All right, so I graduated high school in 93, and I wanted a 4x4 Ranger. I wanted to lift up and put my dirt bikes in the back, stuff like that. And, I ended up getting a 2-wheel drive Ranger, which, wasn't really what I wanted, but I was like, whatever. So cruising around my old neighborhood and stuff like that, and I see this Ranger come through by the one of the original members, one of the founders of Low Rollers, Franny Warner. He had an '85 Ford Ranger, and it was blue and yellow two-tone with a drip paint job, with 5-star hammers on it, ground effects, and just a knocking system. And this guy would come through. Like, it's funny. Like, I used to make fun of mini trucks when I would see him going down the cruise strip, but then, like, I seen this thing go through, and something just hit me, and I was just like, holy crap, what is that? Like, and I ended up knowing his brother-in-law because I would see him over there. So I went over and I was like, dude, who is that guy? He's like, oh, it's my brother-in-law. So I ended up meeting him, and it was all downhill from there, man. I just, you know, I it was Franny, and there was a handful of guys, Marco and Pappy, and Eddie, it was the original guys from Low Rollers, and I would see those guys rolling around, and I was like, this is it. That's what I'm doing. So, I got my truck dropped, and, roll pan and the tonneau cover, and I was like, what do I got to do? And, I started hanging out with those guys in '93, and I got logoed in '94, and the rest is history, man. Like, I've been here ever since and love it.
Hells to the yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I think a lot of listeners right now that were in the mini truck, and they're probably going, hey, something very similar is how, I was kind of hit by the bug. Same thing. You guys have kind of heard my stories if you've listened to some of the older episodes. And that's really what it was. It was kind of that bug that you're like, dude, man. And you're at that perfect age where you're looking to have something a little different. Recently, I was listening to, believe it or not, I'll say it, some of the old Crisscross albums, and I was watching some of the older videos, and I posted some screenshots. But, in that kind of early to mid-'90s, you had that feel where everybody wanted like the little mini, and they wanted a knocking system with a crazy paint job. And, that's, I appreciate you kind of sharing how you got into it, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. It was just great. Like, I hooked up with those guys, and, we had a little cruise strip down here, which was, they've been cruising for, decades, even before us. And, you'd always see, mini trucks and stuff down there. And we were down there like every night, and it was cool. It was right around the University of Delaware, Main Street, man. Like, we were there night and day. It was just cool. Cruising trucks and hanging out, man. It was awesome.
You'll remember though, those nights and those days for the rest of your life. The good old days is what we call it. So if I'm thinking, okay, boom. So you talk a little bit about a Ford Ranger. I'd like to talk about your Ford Ranger. Is it the same Ranger that we're going to talk about that was shot for the cover?
It is. The one I currently have is the same one that was shot for the cover, and it was on the cover of Mini Truck in January 2012. But I did have another Ranger prior to that as well.
Okay, so the Ranger that you own now, you kind of mentioned was shot for the cover. How did you go about acquiring that one since it was a different Ranger?
Well, I of course, like we all did, I got hydraulics on my truck back in '94. And, we used to drag everything, it's what we did. And for years and years, just abuse, and things got beat up. And I was like, man, I really love Rangers. I mean, it's my favorite truck by far. But I was like, I really need a fresh canvas here. I want a fresh start. Mm-hmm. So I found this 92 Ranger, it was an old man's truck, unmolested, just mint, So I bought that, and within 2 to 3 weeks, it was bagged and, shade door handles and everything. It was, on my billets, I had billets on it and stuff like that. So it turned pretty quick, but, it was through 10 years of different phases took me to get it to the point of where it was when it was on the cover.
And I tell you, the cover is cool. Love the layout. So, you basically, you kind of build some bridges, right, over all these years. And, I've talked to you several times, and we've always talked about, like, how did you get involved in the Mini Truckin' magazine? Because I think in my estimation, you kind of forged some good relationships early on. And all these years later, it paid off with an epic cover shoot. So kind of tell us a little bit about how you got involved with Mini Truckin' magazine, bro.
So going back to actually when I was first logoed, I was logoed at a show called Slam, and it was in where was it? Winchester, Virginia. I can't remember. Or no, Fredericksburg, Virginia. It was a show called Slam, and that's actually where I first met Courtney Hollowell, Tito. So like I met him, and of course, I'm 18, 19 years old, and he's cruising around, he's riding a little dirt bike around, and come cruising around in trucks and stuff like that. And I was just like, oh my God, it was like, that's the guy
from the magazine. Like boom, right there.
Yeah, I was like, that's him. Like, wow, like he's just blown away. Like, here I am in this small town in Virginia, and here's the guy that like I put him up on a pedestal, like like a superhero. It's like, oh my God, like so. I got to talking to him, like I introduced myself and just like was so excited, like this excited little kid. And, Courtney couldn't have been a more down to earth guy, just a humble guy. Like, I'm just like, oh my God, like this guy's talking to me. Like, why would he talk to me? But,
yeah, you're a lot younger and you kind of looked up to him because you've been reading this magazine and stuff.
Yeah. So, we met there and got to hanging out. And then, probably 2 months later, we were at a show in, Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, and I was there. We met him, and actually met Chris Schmidt there for the first time. Who, Chris was one of the original camera guys with Courtney. Yeah, so I'm hanging out there in East Stroudsburg with Courtney and Chris Schmidt, the original camera guys, and I really got to get to know Courtney that weekend, and from hanging out all weekend. So I used to call and talk to him like all the time, when he was, back at the magazine. So I would call up and talk to him. And, a lot of times I would get a hold of Lance Martz. So me and Lance would, I got to know Lance, and, he's the one that I think put the first picture of me with my head in a C-notch back in 95 in Mini Truckin. And, Lance had said, one day I called up and I was talking to Lance. He's like, hey man, I'm coming out your way this weekend. I said, really? Where are you going? Virginia? And he was like, yeah, is that close to you? And I was like, yeah, it's about, 3 to 4 hours. He said, are you going down? I said, I hadn't planned on it, but if you're going to be down there, sure, I'll come down and hang out. So I went down there and was hanging out with Lance, and I got to talking to him, and, I was sitting there talking about just the magazine and how he got started. And, I was like, man, it's so cool what you guys do. Like, I really admire it. And, how could I get involved in something like that? Like, it'd be like a dream. And he's like, well, you should get yourself a decent camera and, take a photography course, and, we'll see what you can do. And you start sending stuff in and we'll see what it looks like. So, and, he's got a Mini Truckin shirt on, I'm still young at the time, and I'm just like, man, like, well, how do I get me one of those shirts? And he pulled the shirt off his back and gave me that shirt. Like, it couldn't have been just a cooler thing to do. And Lance was so awesome too, man. That he was just, man, always treated me very well. So to get into how I got involved into the magazine. So, like he told me to do that. So I picked up a camera and I was practicing, and I took a course and stuff like that. And, this was right about the time that Courtney had left Mini Truckin to go to street trucks. Like, Courtney came out, stayed at my house, or my parents' house, actually. I was still young.
Yeah, sure.
So he stayed at my parents' house, and, he came out to cover our show, the End of Summer Bash. And, when he went back and, I guess several months later, it was going to run in the magazine, and, he had left for street trucks. So, Lance hit me up and say, hey dude, I don't have information for your show. He said, I got photos. He said, but I don't have the information. He said, so, I don't feel I could write it and do anything with it because I don't have any information. So if you can write it up for me, that'd be great. So that was the first thing that I actually submitted, was just writing our show, just a write up for it. And then, a couple months later, Chris Schmidt, hit me up, because I would see him around and Courtney around and Lance around. I would see all those guys at the shows all the time. And Chris was freelancing for Mini Truckin and street trucks, and, he was doing all that stuff as well. So, Chris called me up and said, hey, are you going to Garden State Nats, which is a show in New Jersey? And I said, yeah. He said, I was supposed to cover it for Mini Truckin, and, he said, I can't make it. He said, are you able to go up there and do it? Mm-hmm. And I was just like, oh my God, are you serious? Like, he's like, yeah, like, just go up and, take some pictures, take detail shots and blah, blah, blah. Gave me a lot of tips and pointers. And, I went up, and that was the first show I covered for Mini Truckin. And, the rest is history. I got, that was probably 99 was the first show coverage and stuff that I actually did the photos and write up on. I was doing stuff all the way up until, it ended.
I know. And what's crazy is, on episode 75, just a few episodes ago, we had the homie Mike Finnegan. And when you think of the handful of guys, and you think of Courtney, and then Mike, of course, mentioned Mike Self, which he's been around. You had Mike Shartsis, you had Brian McCormick, Steve Stilwell. You had those like core group of guys, and it's amazing to me how far the web stretches on from east to west coast. All of these different friendships were made, or people that became contributors or freelancers and things like that. We had Brandon Burrell on recently. He told some of the older stories. So I think it's really cool that we can highlight someone like yourself, Phil, that, really had an awesome connection, with like Courtney and some of the guys back in the day, dude, because Courtney was one of those beloved guys, man.
Courtney he's definitely one of the most amazing people I've ever met. I had a lot of fun with him and going shows from the east to the west. We used to go out to Texas Heat Wave every year, and he'd come out to North Carolina and Carlisle All Truck Nats, and I would see him everywhere. So it was always a friendly face, always a very humble guy. He was definitely somebody that everybody would put on a pedestal, but he was definitely on the ground level with everybody. And the world lost an amazing person when he passed.
Yeah, it's amazing how he transcends even different, because he was shooting for a motorcycle magazine for a while. He always had his hands in mini trucks, lifted trucks, full size trucks, and you could go anywhere. You can go to any clique, a group of people, and if Courtney's name's brought up, man, I mean, he literally was beloved by everyone, and I think that's what really kind of leaves a mark when someone like that, leaves the earth. It's kind of like everybody can look and say, dude, man, that guy really moved, people, and people got behind him. They believed in him, and I think that was good stuff.
He brought people together, man. And you bring up, Mike Finnegan. Mike Finnegan, I remember, when he was in New York and Burnt Taco, and it was, dark green and getting it all done. I remember when he first got it done, when it was baby blue, or Porsche Riviera blue, I believe the color was. But I remember Mike moved out west. Like, Mike was a super cool guy. I got to hang out with him quite a bit when I met him out here on the East Coast, and as he made his trek out west, it was cool. Like, we hooked up down at Mini Nats in Pigeon Forge. I don't want to say it was probably 2000 when he was making his trek out west. Mm-hmm. And then, we hooked up with him again out at Texas Heat Wave. So it was cool. He was making his trek out west. He had a bunch of guys from, low rollers, here on the East Coast, meeting up with him at different shows. So it was pretty rad. But Mike is another guy he's just an awesome person. I mean, everybody. Lance is awesome. You bring up Brandon Burrell. Brandon's great. Like, everybody you're naming, I mean, they're just really, just awesome people, and going to the magazine, Mike Alexander was awesome. Ernie was awesome. I mean, everybody that was involved, it's really a shame that we don't have the magazine anymore, but, there's still stuff out there, we still got Street Trucks and,
All-Time Low magazine.
All-Time Low magazine, Like, it's just good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us a little bit about how the photo shoot / cover came down for your Ranger, because, I mean, it's an epic truck, bro.
Yeah, so, thank you for that. So, when my truck first got done, they hit me up like, hey, we need you to shoot your truck. And I absolutely refused to shoot my own truck. That's, though I contributed to the magazine, like, I didn't feel, that I should shoot my own truck. I just thought it was wrong to do. So, actually the truck that is on the cover with me is, my buddy Tommy Pearson from Negative Camber, Maryland. Mm-hmm. And I said that, I shot his truck. So, I shot his truck for the, I didn't do the cover shot, obviously, because we were driving, but I shot his feature. But when it, came to my feature, Henry, the Kuiper was the guy that did it. So I hadn't met him before then, but, he was up in New York and he came down, to do the shoot. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, he didn't understand. He's like, what do you mean you want to shoot your own truck? And I was just like, I didn't want to shoot my own. And he was like, well, do you want me to shoot this other one? Tommy's. And I was like, No, I was going to shoot Tommies. You know what I mean? So it was pretty cool to do that. You know what I mean? It would have been awesome to do the cover shot, but obviously you couldn't do it with driving it. But
well, I tell you, it came out good. It's so you got to remind me because the magazine. I want to say the last issue was it because. Mine was in 2013, and then I think 2014, it was like the February or March was the very last issue. So you got in within the last couple years as well, and I'm glad you did because your truck really deserved that recognition.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. May 2014 was the final issue.
Okay,
I actually have it in my hand right now.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, it has a Ranger on it, right?
Yeah.
The black and blue one.
No, it was a yellow S10.
Okay. The S10s brought it down. See, I'm trying to blame the Ford guys.
yeah. I'm trying to blame the Fords, man. It was an S10. I can't remember. It's a beautiful truck, but it was on the job training is the name of it. Daniel Hernan looks like from Indiana. Beautiful truck, but yeah, it's unfortunate that we no longer have the mag. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely, man. And one of the funny things is in the old Clerks movie, I was looking at Kevin Smith's Instagram today, and he had a heart attack. I think it was earlier this year. He, he's 48. I think is his birthday, and he went back and he was leaning on the wall where they filmed Clerks, and he said, how many years ago that movie changed his life, and he obviously had the heart attack earlier this year. But in that movie, and I need to save the clip. There's the famous clip where someone. They fling the door open really quick and they ask the clerk, do you have a hubcap for a 77 Pinto or something? And then he goes, ooh, Mini Truckin magazine. And it's
yeah.
And I love the movie, but I remember in the back of Mini Truckin they used to have maybe towards the front, they would have little, this is what we're listening to, like the CD or tape. And then they would have little things, and they had that one time, they had that little call out on there, and I was like, oh snap, Clerks, I love that movie, and I put two and two together, cool. And I always remember that.
yeah, there's definitely a reference to Mini Truckin in that magazine.
Yeah,
so,
man.
But yeah,
sure.
I made my first debut in Mini Truckin magazine in Mini Laughter. You know what I mean? So, and then those guys just constantly put my face in there doing something stupid or whatever. You know what I mean? That shows for the past 25 years.
Well, when I met you at Showfest 2012 and I turned around and I was like, kind of the same feeling you thought when you met Courtney. I was like, dude, I felt like I knew you. You had your camera there. We're standing by my S10 and, you gave me a lot of love and just kind of said, dude, this is a cool truck. And we talked and it was so cool to actually meet you because all these years, the Beloved magazine and stuff, but you were like what I call like a reoccurring guest, right, at the magazine. We always knew that Phil would be there, and that you had that crazy smile. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, looking at your truck, Bada Bing was amazing to say the least. But it was definitely awesome to meet you. We stood there and talked for quite some time.
Yeah, it was
that
good
weekend,
times, man, for sure. Well,
Samstown, man, Samstown was awesome.
Yeah, it was, dude, and I remember going to Showfest so many years. I know you've been to probably way more shows than I have because especially being where you're at, you can kind of go 3-4 hours. I know you had to travel a lot too, but I tell you, Showfest was one of those shows that we just always enjoyed going to,
Yeah, and when it was in Greenville, it was incredible until it went crazy. And, when I went to Samstown, it was great. You know what I mean? I definitely missed that show. It was good times. But I would have to say, if I was going to go for my all-time favorite shows, I would go to Pigeon Forge Mini Nats, man.
I know. In the heyday, I've heard so many good stories. And
insane. Just insane.
Yeah. Well, speaking of shows, I can't not talk about this. I guess that's a double negative. But your club, Low Rollers, you guys put on End of Summer Bash. You mentioned it earlier for many years. Tell us a little bit about the show and then why you decided to end that tradition.
So we started the show back in 97 was our first year. We did the show for 20 years. So 2 decades was a long time, but it was an incredible journey to say the least. So we started the show because, we're a bunch of mini truckers and, a lot of the shows that we're going to, we're just, hot rod guys or, muscle car guys. And, we're pulling in or like, what is that? And we're like, like nobody even knew what we're doing, and maybe, I guess when we were younger and getting into it and stuff like that and cruising around, like maybe you might have cared about trophies a little bit, but as you got older and you realize that it was definitely not about the trophies, and about the journeys, man. It was about the friendships and the stuff like that. So we wanted to do a show like for us, by us. You know what I mean? So we decided to throw this end of summer bash, and we did our first show in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, and it went really well. We actually did it with another group. It was a little club here in Delaware called Ninja Street Machine. So like they approached us and said, "Hey, you guys want to do this?" So we're like, "Yeah, we'll do that." So we did it with them, and then we decided to go our own route because there was some discrepancies on some things, and some people had some feelings about this and that. So we're like, you know what, we'll just do our own thing, and we moved it to the Salem County Fairgrounds in Woodstown, New Jersey, and it became a staple for the Northeast for sure. Like, especially when you look back at the early 2000s, you know what I mean? Like and for a show out here, we're getting 600 entries. That was a big show.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Dude. Yeah.
So, but like our show was everything, but I would honestly say that it was almost an unofficial all truck show because the mini truckers carried us from day one. There was a lot of people. I mean, there was people that were there all 20 years throughout. And, we definitely had our peaks and valleys. You had your good years and bad years, and you had, weather related stuff. You can't control Mother Nature. So, it got to be a lot. And you never know what was going to happen, with the weather and who's going to show up, which you could always count on the mini truckers, man. Like, hands down, rain or shine, those dudes were there. And, I guess probably about 15 years, you know what I mean? Guys are getting older, we all have families, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So, it was kind of, not everybody's, putting the effort in and stuff like that. So it was like, we kind of set a milestone. We're like, let's try to hit 20. So if we hit 20 years, we'll end the show on a good note. And, we did. Our 20th year had to be the ultimate show for us. We had, I want to say it was just over 450 entries, which was sizable. And I seen people that I hadn't seen in 15 years there. Like people just came out to bid the show farewell. And, it was really a staple out here for the Northeast. So, that was a huge deal. It was crazy. It was emotional. I mean, I honestly, I spent half my life doing that show so it was like saying bye to something that truly meant a lot to me. And I still struggle with it. Like I miss doing the show, but I know that, my life's really busy and, the guys in my club, a lot of those guys, got young families and, they're not doing the shows and the trucks and stuff as much right now because, you got to do life first. Life comes first. I'll never knock anybody for doing that. So, it came to, it was time to say goodbye and we wanted to end it on a good note. And man, it couldn't have been any better. Like, these guys made gifts for us, for the show, custom made coolers, tailgate skins that were all, painted up and everybody signed it. I had everybody sign this banner. And it was really a family. Like it was so cool, man. It was like, wow. Yeah. And I miss it. I miss it every day. And it's funny, like, we're coming up on, the second year, that we haven't done it. And, every time I go to a show, everybody's like, when are you bringing the show back? When are you bringing the show back? So it's really cool that, we affected people that much. It meant that much to people. And, there was kids that showed up there in car seats that, by the end, they were driving their own rides in there. So that was awesome.
Yeah, that puts it in perspective. It really does, Phil, when you do something or you create something or build something that, transcends and so many people enjoy it, it is tough to sometimes, I'll say, walk away. But I commend you and other people. There's some people, they just can't hang up something, right? And I'm not saying it was time to hang it up, but there's, whether it be a football player or an actor or a hip hop artist, there's sometimes that you just gotta cut away and do things that are more important. And And it takes a big person to be able to do that and sometimes say, I got 3 kids, or I'm busy, or I got my career and stuff. And I don't think, as many people can do that. And I commend you guys for, hey, hitting your mark and then moving on.
Yeah. Well, see, and the thing is, I didn't want the show to fizzle out, to be like, oh, well, I guess it's done. I wanted to end on a good note. And just the tribute that everybody paid to it, it's just incredible. And I miss it every day. And there's a club up here called Diverse Rides, and those guys Shannon from that club hit me up after our show and was like, hey, look, I really want to do a show, and I would like to do it on that weekend. And it was like a respect thing. He was like, would you care, if we kind of try to fill the void with the weekend on our show?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, yeah, man, that's awesome. So I talked with him and his guys quite a bit. Gave him some advice on some things, and shared ideas, and these guys did the show, and it was their first year last year. They do it at Eastwood. They make tools and equipment and powder coat and stuff for cars and stuff.
Yes.
So they do their show at Eastwood, and which is actually coming up. This show is coming up. I don't know the exact date, but it's the third weekend in August, so it's going to be coming up soon. But after their show last year, I was probably an hour and a half away from where, we did the end of summer bash. Well, I left their show and I drove, half an hour out of my way just to drive over to our show field.
Wow.
And, I parked my truck on the hill where Low Rollers was always parked, and I just took a picture and really just sat there and tried to take it in. And I get bummed out. I truly do. I miss it. You know what I mean? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of stress and, a lot of worry, but, it was just cool being part and feeling like you made a difference for the scene, and you made a difference for the people that truly look forward to it, every year. And I miss it. And I assure people, everybody that asks me, I assure you that at some point I will do something again, and I hope that it would meet up to everybody's expectations. But it's going to be something when I have the time in my life and the support from, my guys that have are able to get in and put some effort in, and because I don't want to go in something half-assed. I want to go in something that's going to impress and going to be something that people talk about.
Well, yeah, we know that it will be, man, because you put the time in. You've got your resume stacked there with plenty of 20+ years of doing this and going to shows and stuff.
I love the scene, man. I truly do. I love the people. There's nothing that I could think that I would rather do. My wife always talks about it. She's like, it's just crazy. She asked me before, you ever going to stop doing this? But, she admires, she complains a little bit, when I go on a lot of shows here and there. But, she thinks it's so cool that I'm so dedicated to it and how much it means to me. And just the people, I can't imagine anything else that I would have done that, I've traveled from here to California. I have friends, all over the world because of these stupid little trucks. Yeah. You think about it, the trucks are what bring us together, but the shows and the relationships that you get and create, and friendships and the bonds that you have with these people that you would have never seen or known of, or just mini trucking as a whole was just, it's incredible. It's really cool.
It is a way of life, dude. And
it is, man. You got people that, would have never picked up a welder or never picked up tools or never did anything. And, because, I got a truck and, hey, I can't afford to pay a shop, to build this. And, me and my buddies are going to get in the garage and do this. That's what we all did back in the day. Every weekend, we're all in the garages working on everybody's trucks. And, And it was cool because, back then it was like, you're trying to be the first, or, I seen this mod at the show, I'm going to do this to my truck. So you'd rush home from the show and try to have it done to your truck on the next weekend. Mm-hmm. And it was just awesome, man.
It was. And I think you said it behind a lot of us, especially with you in your situation, your wife supports what you do. We've mentioned that many times over this podcast. It takes that. It takes a lot of dedication. So many of us, if you think back, I used to do this. I used to, when we had to submit our vacation time, like October or November the year before, we would literally go on Street Source, or we had the dates written down from Mini Truckin Magazine.
Yeah.
And we were like,
Yep.
okay, take Friday and Monday off, and we took so many of our vacation days just to go to shows because that was like the thing. We're going to see so-and-so, hang out, drink some brews, get a little crazy,
And people don't understand it. They're like, if they're not into it or just they've never done anything like this. And people ask me all the time, especially with like going to Show Fest, which is an 18-hour trip one way for us. So it was like, people are like, oh, what are you doing? So, well, we're leaving Friday morning to drive to Mississippi, and we're going to hang out at the show and hang out in the parking lot until 3, 4, 5 in the morning, and cruise around and check out trucks, and then Sunday we'll get up and we'll start driving home. And then people are like, what? Like, you're going to drive nearly 40 hours round trip just to hang out in the parking lot with people? I'm like, you don't understand. Like,
this is
like it's not. It's what we do. You know what I mean? It's dumb. Like, I spend more time driving than I do at the shows. But
I've figured that out too before, man. I've done the same thing. And when we would go to Show Fest, it was like 14 hours, and I think we'd gain an hour. So it was like, I don't know if it was 15 hours or 13.
Right. Either way, it's a long ass trip.
Yeah, in May, the love bug sucked every year, especially in Florida and the South. And then 2, we'd get to the damn cornfields, and we're like, we got to almost be there. And it was like cornfields for miles. I'm like, dude, we went the wrong way or something.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I like doing all these long trips. Like, I didn't drive to a Texas show until I did LST 2017. We drove the trucks out. Well, I trailered the truck out with friends. But like we used to drive to Indy Truck Bash, Mini Nats. Like, I mean, everywhere. Like, I went everywhere. And I still go everywhere. Some people come at me. They go, man, that's awesome that you're still that dedicated and still putting in the miles and still doing what you do. But I couldn't do it without the supporting wife and family that I have, and my club guys and all my friends from the other clubs and stuff. Like, I'm down to ride. So if you want to go to a show, let's ride. I'm rolling out. So I'm always down. I love it. It's a sickness.
It is a sickness. And speaking of that, the homie Cliff Summers, he wants to know. This is on our Facebook Airhead Nation group. Who's your favorite East Coast Mini member?
Oh man, my favorite East Coast Mini guy. I mean, it's gotta be my buddy Cliff, man.
Yeah,
man.
That's
Cliff's
good.
my boy, man. Me and Cliff, we clocked a lot of miles, especially the past 2 years together. East Coast Minis is solid group, man. Just a solid group of dudes. I love those guys. I mean, everybody. I mean, I can't think of anybody out there, any club or whatever that I don't like. Like, there's solid people in every group, man. It's cool. But yeah, Cliff, AKA Snake, because of the snake on the hood. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny. Like, when he first got his truck painted, the Colorado, I was just like, what's up with that snake on the hood? And like, I was just like, man, I don't like it. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? He said, it's not what I wanted, but it's kind of growing on me. And it's funny because like it became like it's like something that I was always commenting on. So I'd always call him Snake Plissken from Escape from New York. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Yeah, so if it's going to be my favorite East Coast Mini guy, it's got to be my homie Cliff. You know what I mean? He's a solid dude. That's my buddy. But everybody, I love all those dudes. I love all those dudes, man, for real. But, yeah, Cliff's my homie.
So let me ask you this. Speaking of Cliff, you guys, you said a minute ago you're down to ride. You drove down with the homie Cliff all the way from the Northeast all the way to Slam Fest, dude. Why do you feel like it's important to make the trek? Did you do it just because, you had met Mike and Mike goes, hey, man, you got to come down? But, like, what makes you, we just hit on it, but what made you want to drive? That's a long-ass way, dude.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you drive 24 hours one way to Texas, like, that's not a long drive. I think it's like 16, 17 hours down there to Tampa. Like, I was like, man, that's not bad. But, like, what I don't know. I've always Slamfest was just it was a name, you know what I mean? Like, it was a show that I always wanted to go to, and I got to talking to Mike, and I was like, I really want to go down to the show. Was it 25 year? Was it 30 year?
Yeah, I think last year was 26. I think.
Yeah. So, but I think I really wanted to go, so I was just like, man, I got to make the trip down. So we committed to go, and got to go down and check out the show. I loved it. I had a great time. It was amazing. Got to hook up with you. You just lost your father. Unfortunately, I mean, it's a terrible loss. So I spoke to you, briefly here and there, but got to see Bada Bing again. just being down there with the palm trees, like it was incredible. Camber guys down there, Mike Barsha, you know what I mean? He invited us out. We went out to his house. You know what I mean? I finally got to see his dually frame in person. Wow. You know what I mean? Just amazing, just an amazing guy. Like it was awesome that, he invited us in. Mike's a super cool dude. One of my homies, you know what I mean? For sure. But, it was so cool. It just made the trip, you know what I mean? It was just a solid experience all the way, going over there and checking that out and hanging out with everybody. Slamfest it's a solid show, man. So if you guys get the opportunity, check it out. It was worth the trip for me. I'm definitely going to make the trip again. That's for sure.
Hells yeah. One of my highlights, I was in the vicinity, I think on that Friday, dropping some stuff off, and I almost broke my neck because there's the big major intersection right over by the fairgrounds, and I go, holy shit, there's my homie Phil right there, man, from the Northeast, and you had that thing just laid out at a stoplight, and I snagged a photo real quick, on the iPhone, and it was cool, man, because, I mean, you're a dude from Delaware, and you got your truck down here, and you're cruising. It was nice weather, of course. That's really why you came down. But all jokes aside, it was cool to see it, man. I mean, like you said, you're born to ride, man.
Dude, I love driving my truck. Like, I'll drive it to most places. I try not to trailer, but like if it's more than like an 8-hour trip, like, I don't have a spare. I can't put stuff in my bed. You know what I mean? So it's like,
sure.
At some point, I got to decide, maybe I'm going to put it on a trailer for this trip. So, we trailered it down there, but like I drive the wheels off my truck, and like most people see from the pictures and the videos and stuff that are posted, like I skate that thing everywhere. You know what I mean? I'm riding.
I know you do.
Just pinned to the ground, man. As my boy Posey always says, he's pinned. You know what I mean, when he comes to my truck. But yeah, I love my truck. Like it's my happy place, and I'll even post that up sometimes. Like when I'm cruising, I'll do a little my very few selfies that I take. You know what I mean? But it truly is like I get in my truck and I'm just riding and just listening to my jams, whatever, whether it's my punk rock and hardcore, you know what I mean, or just whatever's on, and it just escapes me. You know what I mean? It's just awesome times. Happy place, man. It's my happy place.
Hells to the yeah, brother. Well, I've got a few last questions for you. But first, before we get to those, Morgan asked, she posted a very cool photo. I think it looks like it's from LST. I think she was trying to nudge you a little bit there and go, hey, what's your favorite photo ever of your truck? But damn, Morgan Hernandez, she really killed it with that one, didn't she? Yeah,
Morgan got a killer shot, and I was honored that they actually used it in one of the little, Vire ads on the Facebook page. So I was really honored to have that. It was definitely a killer shot. I appreciate every picture that everybody sends me for sure, man. Like, I love my truck. I really do. I'm not, I don't know. It's just, I like it. It's cool.
Yeah, dude.
But that's a solid photo that Morgan did. So thank her for that.
Well, and you've kept it all these years. A lot of guys go back and they go, I wish I wouldn't have sold my first ride. I wish I wouldn't have sold my mini truck back from, 2000. We just heard from the homie Kerry Bewley on episode 77. He sold his truck in 2000. It's 2018.
Bewley's Body Works.
Yeah, boom, Bewley's Body Works. He gets it back. But like you hinted in the beginning, you still have the other Ranger, plus you have this other famous Ranger. I mean, that's pretty kick-ass, dude.
No, I don't have the original one. I sold it.
Bad.
I mean, I sold it off. So yeah, so I have the Ranger that I have now. That's the only Ranger I currently have.
Well, that's all you need, because I was going to say, if the other one's sitting and it's been sitting for 20 years, I was like, I don't know how good a condition it may have been in.
No. It was definitely been run hard, so it was beat up from the feet up. But
yes, sir.
Yeah, so you know what I mean. Yeah, I love my truck. I want to build something else, and people are always like, oh man, aren't you going to build something old or build a hot rod or build a muscle car or this or that? Like, I love mini trucks. You know what I mean? I love them. Like, I'm like, oh, full size would be cool, but I really just enjoy driving a mini. You know what I mean? My next build, I do want to build an old truck. I want to build a 53 to 56 F100. But my next build for, especially a mini truck, and it's going to be a Space Cab Isuzu. Like, I've loved those trucks since I've seen Radar's truck, you know what I mean, in person in Texas Heatwave, or actually I seen it first in Mini Nats, but just I used to I hated that back window, but now, like, it does it for me. I'm just like, it's just, since I seen his truck in person, like, it made me fall in love with his truck. So I'm constantly tagged and stuff on Facebook for space cabs for sale. Like, everybody knows I'm kind of searching for one.
Itching.
Yes, yeah, I definitely got the itch. So, I've missed a couple, here and there that I definitely would have jumped on, but I haven't had right now. It's not the right time for me to get something. So I do appreciate everybody tagging me and stuff, but it might be a little bit. Just life's so busy and doing some other things, so I don't really have the money to dump in to buy another truck, especially build it right now. So, but I will build a space cab, but I'll always be in a mini truck. I don't think I'll ever sell my Ranger. You know what I mean? People always ask me, like, well, what'd you sell it for? Well, I mean, it's not. I don't know. It's a '92 Ranger. Like, what's it worth? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't know. Like, it's worth a ton to me because I enjoy it. I don't think I could sell it. Like, if somebody came up with stupid money, you know what I mean? I guess I would have to sell it, but you can't pass up a killer opportunity. But I don't think it's worth stupid money. It's worth the world to me. You know what I mean? I enjoy it.
Yeah, it is,
so,
and that's what we've seen trucks sell for a lot, and people are like, "Oh, I can't believe someone paid that much." And then you see a truck say, "Oh man, these trucks are worth way more." So it depends what someone's willing to pay. We saw Square Body Syndicate C10, right? Amazing truck. When I think he was on C10 Talk, he mentioned like everything he builds is kind of rattle can frame and super clean and super badass truck. Sells for $106,000. Some people would be like, "Wait, what?" But it has the GM Design Award, it has that prestige, that type of thing. Famous truck. So it really depends. There's a lot of mini trucks floating out there. When you go to a modified site, there's a lot of ex-SEMA builds and stuff. So it depends, man. If everything lines up, you can sometimes get a pretty penny. But you drive your truck and you enjoy it. So I could see why you wouldn't want to.
Yeah, I mean, there's an ask for every seat. Like, and I hate that, like, people, if somebody puts a price tag on their truck and everybody's like, "Oh, that guy's crazy. It's just an F10 or it's just this, it's just that." Everybody's truck is just something. You know what I mean? So, if somebody wants that truck bad enough, you know what I mean, and this is what the guys want, like, why hate on it? Everybody talks so much trash. It makes me nuts. But, and we're our own worst enemies. And, you see a lot of killer trucks go for like, 6, 7, 8, 9,000 and, it's like, oh my God, like I know that guy probably had 40, 50 grand into that truck and he took a total bath. So, but, as a scene, we kind of deplete the value ourselves and like, oh, well, I could build it for that. No, you could build it for 40 or 50 grand unless you're doing everything yourself. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just a shame. Like, I mean, look at Last Look when it was just on, what was that show?
The TV show. Yeah.
When it was just on, like, and they said 100,000, you know what I mean? Everybody's minds are like, oh my God, that's dumb. Like, I would never pay that. Well, yeah, you would never pay that, but you know what? It's worth that to somebody, or maybe not. Maybe it's just an astronomical number and maybe it's not a reality, but why knock it? Like, that's incredible. If somebody would give that guy 100 grand for that truck, awesome. Do it. You know what I mean? That's great. Yeah. Like, quit knocking down the value of stuff that, you know what I mean? Some people put their heart and soul and they're, you know what I mean? They're all the money they had into these trucks and to turn around. I mean, building a mini truck is a terrible financial investment because there's no return on them. But in reality, like, if somebody were to try to build these trucks, like, you can't touch them for nowhere near what you could buy them for. You can't build them for nowhere near what you could buy them for. So,
hells to the yeah, man. And there's a guy in Florida that builds Lincolns and he sells them. And earlier today, one popped up and he's asking $120,000 now. No normal person's going to buy that. It's hard to find a convertible, that's in good condition. And then you're going to cut it up, you're going to lay it out and stuff. But, when there's football players and basketball players and sports figures and they're making, $50 million contracts, and granted, I know they're paying a lot in taxes and all that stuff, but when you're making $10 or $20 million and that type of thing a year, I mean, to go and spend $40,000 or $60,000 or $100,000 on a car, it's like fucking peanuts. A night out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is a little crazy, but what I did want to do is kind of just wind down with a few what I'll say kind of shorter questions. In my mind at least, where do you see the mini trucking culture / lifestyle in 15 to 20 years, Phil?
I mean, it sucks that they're no longer building mini trucks as far as, producing them. So, you know what I mean? Everything's going to get older and harder to find and, essentially more valuable. But I would imagine that, people are still going to be building stuff, like if you would have asked me back in 93, if, in 2018, do you think people are still going to be building these? Well, I wouldn't have a clue.
Right.
But like you look at the way stuff was built back then versus the way stuff's built now, and it's mind blowing. Mini trucks have changed the game on the way a lot of stuff is built. Air ride suspension, that was started in our scene. You know what I mean? Like there's so much that we've brought to the table, and you get a lot of street rod guys. They'll see stuff and they're like, oh man, they don't really know the work that goes in, and then they see like a guy did a full chassis build, and that's it's not like you just cut springs out of a car, like which some people are like, oh, what'd you do? Just take the springs out? It's like no, like like there's a lot to it. So I mean, who knows what we'll be doing in the next 20 years? But I definitely think that they will still be a scene. I feel like there's a rise coming back in mini trucks for people building them, and I'm seeing a lot of old school guys that probably disappeared for 10 years. That are coming back, and it's really cool to see the old faces and reconnect. And, a lot of people are like, man, when did you start building again? And I'm like, I never left.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. We're like,
oh my God, like you've been around that long. Like, yeah.
That stayed around all the years.
Die hard, man. Die hard.
Yeah. Like Bruce Willis, man. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next one I got for you is, and this is a good one. This is what I love social media for. The homie Chris, I think you say it Wegman, Wegman.
Yeah, Wegman.
Wegman. He said, "Hey, don't forget to ask him about the skateboards and the good old days, and maybe some of the. Do you still have any of that old stuff, or what can you tell us about the skateboarding days?"
I love skateboarding. I love skateboarding today as much as I did when I was 8-10 years old. I I was still skating a few years ago, and I racked my knee, and I haven't been on a board in a while. I still snowboard quite a bit, like all winter long. Like I'll go as much as I can. Most people are going, yeah, right, your fat ass snowboards. Yeah, my fat ass snowboards, and skating I really haven't got to do much of, but I have a bunch of decks on my walls in my garage. A lot of band boards, and I have some old pal stuff. Nothing too crazy. Some of the stuff is a local skate shop that I used to work at, and my Switch, and my buddy Joey and Tyler own the shop. They a bunch of their shop decks I've bought because I've known the artist that did the artwork and stuff like that, so I got all them hanging up. But my boy Chris Wegman, I happened to be in his garage one day, and we were looking at his truck, and I was just like, I looked up and hanging from the wall, I see a skateboard. I said, "What is that?" He said, "What?" I said, "That." And I'm pointing at the skateboard. And he was like, "That's my Jeff Kendall." I said, "Why? I see that, but why is it hanging there?" And he was like, I don't know. It's been there for like 20 years. And I'm like, "What are you doing with it?"
Yeah, you're like, dude, they can't just sit there.
Yeah. I was like, what are you doing with it? And he was like, "Nothing. Why? You want it?" And I was like, "I'll buy it from you." He's like, "No." He's like, "Do you want it?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." I said, "But they're worth money. Like, at least let me pay you something for it." He said, "Phil, are you going to sell it?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, then just take it." He said, "You appreciate it for what it is." He said, I'd rather you have it and be happy you have it and enjoy it than, I don't want anything for it. It's just an old skateboard hanging from my garage." So yeah, Chris hooked me up with this killer. I want to say it's a 1985 graffiti Jeff Kendall killer deck. It's incredible. So he hooked me up with that. So I love my skateboards, man. I love to watch kids skating and stuff like that. So it's cool.
Yeah, man. Well, I tell you, it's cool anytime you can hook a homie up like that in terms of giving them something. If I've tried, I'm a pack rat, but like if I've got something that I think is someone else would enjoy more, I will, give that item to that person as, if they're a close friend. So I think that's pretty cool. The next question I have for you is, do you have any advice for like a young person? So you mentioned earlier that you saw some of the young kids that were in strollers, then boom, they grow up 20 years later at your show and they're out there. But we've seen some younger guys, 25, 30 years old, maybe they got a brother or a sibling or a neighbor that got them into it. Do you have any advice for someone that's kind of looking to get in the scene as far as mini trucking?
Well, yeah, I mean, dive in. You know what I mean? Like, I would say get in. It's you know, it's definitely a great scene, a great group of people. I got my phone ringing in the background.
It's all good.
So,
it's probably Ron Perkins calling from Hammer Weekend Wear. Sorry.
Yes. Love Ronnie Perkins, man. Hammer Weekend Wear is awesome. Killer Freds. But my advice would be just jump in and, you know, one of the problems I see in the scene that I think that, you know, probably turns people away, like people knock everybody's stuff. Like not everybody, but there's definitely some, you know, egos out there and guys that, you know, unless you've got, you know, the newest, you know, stuff built and laying out on, you know, 28-inch billets and, you know what I mean, like full paint, full chassis, you know, guys knock it. So if a guy pulls in with a truck and, you know, it might be just bagged on 18s and, you know, not that that's a bad thing, but, you know, I mean, it's not like a finished truck.
Sure.
And people knock those guys. They're like, you got this and you got that. Man, ignore those guys. My advice is find a good group of people that you enjoy being around and, you know, those guys suck. Don't let them influence who you are. You know, build your truck at your pace and how you like it, not how they want it. And just you know, hook up with good people, and you'll find a family in the scene for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Well, you know, when I look at some of the comments out here, the homie Chris goes, "Hey, man, make sure he runs for president." You know, we know Phil Fowler. We could see your face. You know, one of my favorite movies is Back to the Future, and you had Mayor Goldie Wilson. You know, I could see you on like a T-shirt, man, because you just got that smile. You know, you're a positive dude in the scene. You've been repping from east to west. You've helped the magazines, as you mentioned, Mini Truck until the end. You know, we got nothing but you know, for love out there for you. And you know, what's actually another question just came in from Matthew Catt McCutcheon. What other favorite Ranger do you like out there? So you got an epic one. What's one of your other favorites?
One of my favorites has got to be Tony Audia. Tony. I mean, it's Tony from NC. He's got the Blue Ranger. Was the cut to the doors, incomplete. He's from West Virginia. Tony, I've known Tony for years, going back to the shows in the '90s at Carlisle. You know, when he was with Extreme Dreams. But his Ranger is still is incredible. You know what I mean? It hasn't been out in several years, but I'm pretty sure it was featured in Street Trucks. But that is definitely one of my all-time favorite trucks. And unless you're a Ranger guy, you would never notice, like, you know, the radius doors and, you know, the radius bed corners and stuff like that. Like, there was just so much detail in that truck. You know, Jody Hall's Ranger back in the day. Yeah. You know, Chris Lindsay just built, you know, from Aftermath, just built this, you know, or redid the Ranger that I can't remember. You know, I know Ronnie had it from Camber, Texas, but you know, it was a, you know, the truck was built at Wicked Customs. I just can't remember who owned it, but that was a killer truck. God, I mean, there's so many. You know, and I got CRS. You know, I mean, I'm getting older now, so sometimes you know, like names just don't come to mind, and I'm like, oh man, what's that guy's name? So I don't want to mess up somebody's name. Or,
no, it's all good. Let me ask you this:
I love all the trucks. I'm partial to Rangers for sure.
The blue one that you mentioned, I've mentioned this before on past podcasts. Was that one of the ones that was like you could? I mean, it was like it tucked the most wheel ever. I forget. You know, it had a smaller wheel on it, but it was that crazy. Yeah, and it was in Street Trucks. Yep. Nietzsche
spikes, I want to say they are. But it tucked in an insane amount of wheel. Beautiful truck, and Tony's an incredible guy. Travis Dennison is another Ranger, the extended cab out of Ohio that Little Shop built. Oh my God, just that truck is incredible. Ronnie Wells with his Green Ranger, and he's got another brown one, two-tone or tri-tone, I guess. You know, I mean, there's just so many just killer trucks out there. So
hells yeah. You know, well, I did want to squeeze this in too. That the homie Cliff, he recently sold his green S10. It's now down here in the care of I Hate Phil in Florida, and I saw on I Hate Phil. I think on his. It was either, I don't think it was Snapchat because I don't go on there as much, but it was on his Instagram story. he had posted a video of him driving it, and he made a joke. He's like, I've driven this truck more in like 2 days than it's been driven in however many years. I knew the truck for years, but I didn't realize that Cliff owned it. So I thought that was cool that famous truck now resides in Florida.
And what's cool is, like, I shot that truck. I seen that truck come from, just lowered with, I think it had wire wheels on it. He had, I want to say the Joker or the Riddler or somebody on the tailgate, you know what I mean? Like back in the 90s, you know what I mean? And I've seen that come along to what it is. And Cliff loved that truck. And I mean, he really took care of it. The problem is, like, he couldn't get it inspected in Delaware, so he never really got to enjoy it. But, so he sold it, then he bought it back, and then, he sold it to Rich Gentner, and, then, he got it back, and then Phil got it. But, like, it's really cool that Phil Gordon is really, like, he loves that thing, I feel, just as much as Cliff did. And it's really cool to see him driving it, enjoying it, and, I mean, the truck's been done for several years, but still mint. Like, it's a super cool truck. And the one thing, people either love that truck or hate it. I've always thought it was incredible and unique. You know what I mean? But, I don't know. I'm really excited to see Phil have it and enjoying it and driving it and loving it as much as Cliff did. So I know that's got to make Cliff happy as well.
I agree. And, dude, I just want to say, as we wrap it up, that we could hear the passion in your voice earlier, talking about how you enjoyed the show that you guys put on for so many years. You're one of the guys that, if I were to, look at a dictionary, what is mini trucking? Your name is there. I mean, I think you really deserve, and I know you're not a guy like so many others. Even Sean Mahaney wasn't a guy that wanted the recognition, but you're a guy that really deserves it. You've been doing this a long time. You've been hustling. You go to shows. You don't cop out like so many people do. And, I just say, boom, I salute you as a fellow enthusiast in the scene, bro. And, our Lifestyle, the podcast, we got a lot of respect for you, bro.
Thanks, man. Yeah, stay humble, man. That's, some of these people put themselves up on a pedestal and get these egos, man. Look, if you build a cool truck, well, that's cool. Don't shit on nobody because you think that you just reinvented the wheel. Like, everybody's been building cool stuff for years, and, just don't become a rock star. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, come on, really,
Yeah, some guys, I see them just mistreat people, and, like, it's crazy. And, people always make a big joke of it. John Beebe did the Fowler for President shirt. Love John and Jen, and everybody at Drop Home, Chad and Crystal. But John, back in 2008, made a Fowler for President shirt. There were stickers, and it became definitely a big joke up here in the Northeast. And, actually with the 2008 election, I got people that actually called me or emailed me and said, hey, by the way, I actually wrote you in. I'm like, no way. Like, don't vote. Please don't waste your vote on, something silly. But it was kind of funny. But, I'm just a humble guy, man. I walk around at shows and, I hear people saying, oh, that's Phil. And, people like, my friend's kids, they came up to me and they're like, oh, we were just over there and you went walking by, and these people are like, oh my God, that's that guy Phil. He's got that Ranger over there and this and that. And it's like, man, look, if you see me at a show, come up and talk to me. Like, I'm not a rock star. I'm not anybody special. I'm just a mini trucker, just like you. You know what I mean? I just go to shows. I enjoy it just as much, if not probably more than you.
Yeah, but, I know, right?
But come hang out. You know what I mean? I don't drink. I would say, most people are like, oh, we'll go have a beer. But, like, I'm down to hang out, bullshit. We talk about trucks, talk about life. I don't care. Just enjoy the scene, enjoy the shows. Good stuff.
Well, that's it, homie. I mean, you gave a shout-out to the wife and the family earlier. Was there anything else you want to share with the Arrowhead Nation?
I got to give a shout-out to my club, Low Rollers, man. I don't even think we really touched on. We touched on our show, but, my club, guy Marco and Franny started the club back in 92. It was kind of a joke. And, I started hanging out in 93. And, here we are 25 years later. Definitely not as big as we used to be, but we're, mini trucks aren't as common as they used to be, but, we're just a small club based out of Delaware. Mm-hmm. We've been around for 25 years, and, it's cool to go coast to coast and people recognize, recognize myself. They recognize our logo, and, it's definitely it's been a huge part of me, and I love my club. I love all the guys, you know what I mean? Some of them are really busy and just, kind of doing life and kids and stuff like that. And, not everybody has the luxury to just jump up and go to shows all the time. And, but it's a family, you know what I mean? So love my club. Shout out to Low Roller. Shout out to all my friends and, everybody, you know what I mean? That, gives me props on the truck. Shout out to everybody in the scene. You know what I mean? Definitely big shout out to my wife, Danielle, my beautiful 3 daughters, Sarah, Emily, and Anna. My parents, everybody that's ever supported me in doing this. It's just cool. You know what I mean? It's fun stuff. I love it.
Hells yeah, dude. Well, hey, you're a hustler. You work hard. You enjoy yourself. You go to shows. You got an awesome family. It doesn't matter what state you're in. You can be in the Northeast, the South, the West Coast. You can enjoy the scene of ours is what we call it. The mini truck scene. It's vast, and there's a lot of good people out there. And what we love to do, as you know, Phil, is highlight some of those good people on our Lifestyle, the podcast. We appreciate you coming on as a guest. And, we tell a lot of the guests the same thing. If you ever want to come back on, or you think of more stories, or you just want to come have a good time for 15, 20 minutes, let us know, and we'll have you on as much as you want, bro.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I really appreciate that. Now, one other thing that I wanted to touch on is, we mentioned my truck a little bit, and I don't want to ramble on too much, but I definitely got to give major props to my buddy Pete Ryberg from Big Dog Customs and Eric Folber, from NC Maryland, for helping me out with my paint. Fred Green from PPG for helping me out with my paint. Brad Wurzbacher for my interior. Everybody from my club and, that's ever helped me on my truck and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like everybody that's ever done anything, but I got to definitely give special shout outs to those guys that helped me get my truck to where it is today. Because without those guys, it would be done, but I don't think it would be done the way it is. I've done a lot of stuff myself, but it's good to have great friends that'll pitch in and help you out and get things done. And, I appreciate that, man. Much love to these guys.
Hey, that's what it's about, the mini truck scene. You got a lot of good friends and family, people that get together. The good old days was, cracking a drink in the garage and helping each other out. We definitely, in the midst of all of our careers and jobs and the soccer practice and dance recitals and all that, there's a lot going on. But I think if we can get back to our roots a little bit and try to help each other out, stay positive, that's what it's about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, Phil,
that's awesome.
Dude, it's been a pleasure. Before you go, let everyone know how to follow you on Instagram, if you know your handle, homie.
Yeah. Well, I'm on Facebook, and then my Instagram is Phil_Fowler. I don't on Instagram much, so yeah. I mean, if if you see me on there and you send me stuff, I'll usually check the messages. But I'm a Facebook junkie. You know what I mean? Maybe that's just because I'm old. But yeah. So I thank you for the opportunity to be on here. I really appreciate what you guys are doing for the scene. It's really cool to be part and to even be considered in these top shelf people that you guys have had on, to even put myself in the caliber with some of these people, some of the guests that you guys have had. So I appreciate you hold me in that regard, to think I was worthy enough to be a guest. I hope my interview didn't disappoint. But we finally got it knocked out, man. Finally got it knocked out 50 episodes later.
I know, for everyone, we've alluded to it, and I think it was the only interview that we've ever lost. I had a memory card. I deleted everything on it, and it should have been clean. Did the interview. I had misplaced my main memory card. So, we started, and for some reason, Phil didn't have the best feeling about the interview. We kind of bounced around a little bit, and that was, as he mentioned, 50 episodes ago, probably 2 years ago. I don't know, year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that. But speaking of that, the audio did clip out there a second. I had a little bit of a challenge with Wi-Fi. Can you give us your Instagram name just one more time, Phil?
Phil_Fowler.
So boom, Fowler. First name Phil, Phil. Look him up. You guys know him, but if you don't, make sure you follow him on Instagram. You'll see that Badass Ranger right there posted up. You'll see some of the Low Roller 25th anniversary shirts. What a good dude. If you see him at a show and you've never talked with him, slap hands with the big homie. And, hey, just keep doing your thing, man. We got nothing but respect for you, bro.
Thanks, brother.